How's life? This is the Galaxy Watch Ultra versus the Galaxy Ring, both from Samsung. Should you get both? Should you get one? Which one? Here are 10 things you need to know before you pull the trigger. Now, I'm going to start off with the first thing, which kind of threw me off guard when I started testing the Ring. Now, the health sensors and accuracy is very interesting in this situation because you have a watch here that sits on your wrist and you have a ring that basically is hugging one of your index fingers. And it turns out that the Ring has far fewer sensors. Now when I think about it, it makes sense. But when I got it, I thought that the Ring was much more accurate. It's not the case. And not just that, you don't get things like ECG, blood pressure, or AGE monitoring, whatever that is. So there's a lot of sensors that are actually missing from a smaller form factor like this. It lacks GPS, of course. And to boot, I thought that the workout and heart rate tracking was actually worse than on the watch.
Okay, so I want to compare this kind of short walk that I did yesterday, also with the Ring on this and the watch here. The distances are similar, but what I really want to bring your attention to is the heart rate. It is completely different because if you look at this, you see that this is the watch now, and you see that the speed is kind of very consistent as I'm walking, but my heart rate towards the end kind of dips. And I would say that this is more accurate because this was the time when I was kind of coming back home and I kind of slowed down because of traffic and things like that. Whereas this one has a weird kind of peak in the heart rate. So I'm not sure what's going on here. And also in the beginning, you see there's some strange kind of metrics happening here. And even though this is just like a half an hour walk, I would still trust the Watch Ultra over the Ring because there is a lot of variability here and it looks very odd.
I'll give you an example with the sleep tracking. Now we're going to go over some of the sleep data from last night, and on the right hand side I have the data from the Ring and the left hand side is the data from the watch. And I had a pretty bad night last night. I didn't get a lot of sleep. I slept late and I woke up later as well. And I think that the Watch Ultra captured that much better. You see a sleep score of 60, sleep time, physical recovery, all pretty poor last night. And if you see the sleep stages, I was literally awake at about 2 a.m. and it captured that bit pretty well. Whereas now if we go back to the data from the Ring, you can see here around 2 a.m. it thinks that I'm pretty fast asleep. Here it says my waking time is 32 minutes. Whereas this is 1 hour and 27 minutes because I did have a break in my sleep. Looking at the skin temperature as well, on the Galaxy Watch Ultra, you're looking at a highest temperature of 34.7%, and that happens after I wake up at around 7. Whereas on the Ring, you're looking at a highest temperature of 35, which is middle of the night, and you see around 7 o'clock, it's kind of pretty cool. So
one thing I do want to say is that the Ring does have a very good fit. So it's not like it's loose or anything. It's not easy to get off. So the sensors should be working pretty well. And the watch is also, pretty standard. So I don't think the fit is causing that issue. I just think that the sensors are a bit worse on this.
I would say the watch is more reliable than the Ring. What did you think? Overall, it also has less detailed activity tracking, daily activity tracking, and I think if you're very fitness focused and you want a lot of details and more accuracy, you have to go for the watch rather than the Ring. One advantage of the Ring over the watch, at least what Samsung told us, was you should be able to use the Ring on any other Android phone like an Google Pixel or Asus or whatever you have. Whereas the watch does have some limitations depending on which Android phone you use it with. And obviously you get the best out of the watch with a Samsung phone. Now, number 2, form factor. I think this is probably the thing I have to explain least. You guys know what a watch is, you guys know what a Ring is, but there's some more implications of having these form factors. Now, on the one hand, say you're somebody like Kevin who wears an analog watch, this fits in nicely, right, to your life. You don't have to change your setup or your watch. It's kind of subtle. It's calm tech, as they say. There are no notifications coming in on these. It's not going to disrupt your daily thing with the vibration. And, the fashion implications are different as well. The watch has a bolder look, whereas the Ring has a more subtle, understated look. And depending on the color, it will look different. But what I did realize after using the watch for about a couple of months now versus the ring for a week is I do a lot of things on the watch. So I issue commands via Google Assistant to turn my lights off. I start and stop timers and stopwatches. All those features are completely obviously absent on the ring. And on the ring, the most you can do beyond fitness tracking is do some gestures, and even that doesn't work on our current Z Flip 4. And of course, you can also do that on the watch. You can have a remote for a camera, etc. So there are pluses and minuses of both, and that's what the form factor for me brings. But another thing, again, which I was surprised with after using the ring for 7 days is the comfort. My initial impression is, wow, ring is more comfortable. A watch is more obtrusive, but in daily use, I found the ring to be more obtrusive. When I got the ring, for me, it was quite obvious that the ring is going to be more comfortable than the watch, but I was so mistaken. Even though the ring is smaller, it just sits on your finger. What is uncomfortable is it's part of your hands, these digits that do everything all the time. And I just can give you 3 examples where the ring was actually in the way, whereas the watch was not. So things like doing dishes. This is made of titanium, obviously, and it's a very hard material. So if you're handling something that is maybe a softer material, even things like steel, you could end up scratching those using this ring. Although luckily it's not sharp at any place, but still it could happen. It didn't happen with me. Number 2, workouts, dumbbells. The dumbbells that I have, those just pinched my fingers because I had a ring on. Super uncomfortable. And even a thing like using your phone, you see, it just hits the device, and if it didn't have a case, I would be really worried that the titanium would scratch my phone. So overall, this, although more compact and less visible, is more obtrusive in daily use. I think another obvious thing is the charging and battery life. So I have the biggest size of the Samsung ring. Yes, I have thick fingers, apparently the thickest in the Netherlands. Girth matters. But what I've noticed is the battery life is very much what they've stated. So I got this on Wednesday and I charged it up Wednesday evening, and today is Tuesday, like afternoon. And this is the state of the battery life. It's 9%. So yeah, I think that kind of checks out. We are on our 6th day and this is probably going to die out tomorrow. So excellent battery life for this size, but the ring battery life is variable because the ring comes in many sizes. So if you have a smaller size, you can expect lower battery life. I think Samsung stated something like 5 days. So keep that in mind. Whereas on the Galaxy Watch Ultra, I think the max I've gotten out of it is like 3 days and 2 nights. And I think it's only going to get worse from here. I keep my, always on screen off for that reason, or I keep it on depending on where I am and what I'm doing. But you will be reaching for the charger much more often with this, and it is rather inconvenient. The charger is a puck type charger, which I am not a fan of. I think they should make it USB-C. I don't know why the USB-C thing doesn't apply to watches, but EU, can you do something about it? Talking about price, the Galaxy Watch Ultra is $650. That's quite a chunk of change. The Watch 7 though is $300. That's a crazy good value for money if that's what you're looking for. Doesn't miss too much in terms of watch features and general performance. Whereas the ring is between the Watch 7 and the Ultra, and it is $400 and 450 euros. You can buy a cheap brand new smartphone or a mid-range brand new smartphone for that money. So you really have to want the ring to pay that much for it. Now, an advantage compared to competitors, of course, like Aura or Aura, however you call them, is there is no monthly subscription cost. So you buy the ring and it's yours and you get to keep it. Now, let's start with the 3 questions. Should you get both? This is the Galaxy Watch Ultra. This is the ring. And even, let's say, the Galaxy Watch 7. I personally think you should not. The sensors, if that is what is important to you, get the watches. If the notifications and all those things are important to you, get the watch. If you like this, kind of form factor and you don't want too much health tracking, just the basics, sleep and things like that, yes, this is probably better because I think for sleep, this is more comfortable and convenient to use. Which of these two you should buy? Well, I personally think the watch is the one to get. I'm kind of disappointed that I'm saying that because I really like how subtle this form factor is of the ring, and you don't have to really, bother to charge it every day. So it really fits nicely into my life. But I do use a lot of the functions of the watch. It's kind of crept up on me over the years, the timer, the music, the smart lights, etc. So I would definitely get the watch. And if you're somebody who's cost conscious, I would definitely get the Watch 7 or even one of the older Samsung Galaxy watches. They have far more sensors than the Ring does. But yes, you will need to charge it every day. And there's the question of how it looks on you at end of life.